So if there's a compliment
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Podchaser, Amazon Music, Audible, Tiki Live, Rumble, iTunes, TuneIn, and more. Hi, I'm Dr. Marissa, your host, producer of this show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I bring guests and topics to the show to balance out all that bad news you might be starting with if you're checking in with this in the morning. Instead, I want you to start here. And as per usual, we start with the gratitude sandwich. We take a bite of our gratitude sandwich, and I brought someone to help me with that this morning. She is my guest. We are celebrating Black Women's History Month, and she is Rev Arlene Hilton. Through Rev Arlene's insight from the Most High God and inspired through the tutelage of Rev Michael Bernard Beckwith, my big brother, spiritual director of Agape International Spiritual Center, Rev Arlene has served youth and adults alike in realizing the necessity in this thing called life. She created the I'm Keeping True fasting program and is the spiritual director of Safe Harbor Treatment Center. For over 25 years, although she doesn't look it, she has supported hundreds of individuals in honoring their whole selves, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Named Full Lotus by Reverend Michael and Reverend Nirvana, she is fully living her life purpose, serving individuals in knowing they are whole beings and that they are worthy of a fulfilled life. Please welcome to my studio, Reverend Arlene. Reverend Arlene.
Marissa, this is amazing.
Did you like that?
I loved it. And who wrote that intro? It was amazing.
I wonder who. Yeah, I said 3 sentences, and you definitely took it to 3 good long sentences.
Notice there was no period in any of each section.
Well, I'm delighted to have you, and I'm going to have you help me with my morning practice on this show, which is taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. Dr. Wayne Dyer says 5 gratitudes in the morning. I'm an overachiever, so I say 8. And 8's a lucky number in Chinese, and you know that. Anyone listening for the first time, and welcome. I see lots of eyeballs because I knew you were going to have a lot of fans here. So please do say hi in the comments, and I'll post them up. If you have gratitudes, please list them and comment there, or turn to the person beside you and say, I am grateful for, and it's like a little game. So I will start, and then you do one, and we'll go back and forth until we finish 8. Are you ready? Get set. I am grateful for my Operation Love My Body, where I have been taking advice from all of my guests who have helped me to re-look and re-love my body. And I'm down 17 pounds since Valentine's Day. So I'm super grateful about that. That's number 1. Your turn.
I am grateful for the living breath that I'm breathing right now, the breath that I'm breathing in this moment. I'm grateful for that.
Beautiful. I'm grateful for the fact that the planets did not crash into each other last night, and I get another new beautiful day to hug, hold, love, create respect, and more.
I am grateful that I woke up this morning. I call it the first miracle of the day. I'm grateful I woke up today.
I'm grateful that I have a cruise to look forward to in October with Abraham Hicks, and I'll be teaching my Tai Chi on the top deck again.
Ooh, nice. I am grateful for all who are following me for I'm Keeping True. Over 20 people are fasting with me during this season. I'm grateful that they said yes, and it's Good Friday.
It is Good Friday. It's tax day too. I'm grateful that when I think of doing my taxes, my initial reaction is not happy, but I remind myself that I am supporting a public education system, a public transportation system, and that makes me feel better.
I am grateful for the work that I do in the world to serve humanity.
I am grateful that it is Good Friday and that we both belong to a spiritual center that embraces all religions because it's trans-denominational. That's
yes. Perfect. Because I am grateful that we're also in Ramadan right now. So I have a group that's fasting with me during Ramadan. So I'm grateful for my Muslim brothers and sisters and what we're learning about this season.
Beautiful. That's 6th, 7th. I am grateful for toothpaste.
I am grateful for my family and my blood family and my chosen family.
I'm grateful that I have a bonus mom and dad who are 89 and 92, about to turn birthdays too, who have shown me that unconditional love is possible.
I am grateful for everything that happened before this moment, no matter what it was. I'm grateful for everything that has brought me to this point in my life.
Beautiful. And that is 8 gratitudes. We've got some, Robin Duncan is saying, hello, hi. Sandra's here. Grateful. She's screaming. Hey, Sandra. Sandra's my fashion mate. She loves me. Jasmine. And Cheryl Matthews.
Everyone's in our fasting program.
I'm sorry?
Everyone's fasting with me right now.
That's great. And I have done it once. I do everything once. And then
it was good.
You
did phenomenal. And you were able to teach while you were with us.
Yes, that was great. So I brought Reverend Arlene on to talk and to celebrate and to mark a very important month. And it's interesting, you tell the story, but it's Black Women's History Month. Black Women's History Month. And when I texted her or called her and said, would you like to come on and be my guest for Black Women's History Month, she said,
Black Women's History Month, I didn't even know it existed. And I was like, what? And I went and looked it up. And I realized it began in 2016. And I said, this needs to be broadcasted. So I want to say, first of all, I'm honored to be here with you. And thank you for telling me about that, because now I can make this an active part of my life. And just so you know, Dr. Marissa, you know I'm Jamaican. Do you know that I've told you this before, that Chinese is very deep in our culture? So I just want to remind you of that we're Chinese, as well as Indian, as well as African and other cultures. So I just want you to know that. I don't think we ever emphasize that. So I'm very interested in Chinese culture. So I just want to share that with you.
And on the other side of that is I've had several people tell me that I resemble a Jamaican because I do so many things.
Yeah, 14 jobs. 14 jobs.
Yes. At last count 18. So it's I just added another one. I forgot what it was. Anyways, it'll come to me. But I'm grateful that we have that connection. We have a lot of connections, And my sister, Reverend Arlene, has taught me so much about friendship. And I am grateful to you for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm grateful for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, enough love. No, I'm kidding. I am gonna
Can't
pop
get
this
enough.
up first. Yes, we can't get enough. And let me pop this up and see if I can do this right. Do we have time? Oh, you know what? I will give myself a little time to pop it up because we are going on break.
Okay, wonderful.
So keep it tuned here too. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. We'll be right back. Don't go away with Reverend Arlene Hilton celebrating Black Women's History Month.
Yay!
Welcome to Balanced Tai Chi Gong. My name is Dr. Marissa Pei. For the next 28 minutes, we will be slow dancing with the universe in a moving meditation that promotes inner peace, one breath at a time. Just follow the sound of my voice and move with me as I guide you through this ancient wisdom through New Thought practice. As a corporate psychologist, I created this practice in response to my life and those of my clients. We were professional, high achievement-oriented, multitasking control freaks and exhausted. No matter how many successes, it was never enough. That, coupled with a painful life experience, led me on a quest to find another way to live and back to my Chinese roots. If you practice regularly, I can promise you that it will impact all health vortexes. Body, mind, spirit, soul. You will be in a place of balance and inner peace the way we were created. 谢谢.
Be my partner, dance with me, just hold on. I will.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News radio station, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel, where you can get all past 680. This is show number 680, believe it or not, in 520 consecutive weeks on the air, coming up on celebrating 9 years. Unbelievable that this started a while back. Thank you for that American Sign Language applause. Thank you for that. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to splatter more hope and happiness onto you all the time. You just saw the promo for my Balanced Tai Chi Gong, a meld of Tai Chi, Qigong, and a little happiness coaching that I get to do at the Agape Retreats, which will start up again soon. But in the meantime, I'm finally going to have classes. Amy Chavez has been hounding me, as well as several other people. So I promised her the last Saturday of every month. So April 30th, go to www.drmarissa.life to register, and I'll see you on the beach. And today is the month, celebrating the month of Black Women's History Month. I have a very special guest on with me right now. Her name is Reverend Arlene Hilton. welcome back to the show.
Thank
Let's
you.
give you a little more applause because I just love that. So I am going to show you something.
What are you showing me?
You can, so we can, you know, I'm sure there are way more than what I'm going to show you, but I wanted to mark some of the people who are, let's see, I don't know why this doesn't share as easily as it used to. Let's do this. Permission. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure this out. I'm just going to read them.
Okay.
Because these are the people they put on the web in social studies for marking Black History Month, which celebrates the achievement of African Americans in United States history from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement. Learn about women who may not always be recognized in the history textbooks, but deserve recognition for their contributions in the fight for equality. And see if you, I'm sure you've heard of these women. I have to admit, I only knew half of the names. So Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells,
yes,
Rosa Parks, that's a familiar one. Harriet Tubman, another familiar one. Ruby Bridges, she's the first African-American child to integrate in an all-white public school in Louisiana. Mary Church Terrell, a first African-American woman to earn a college degree. Claudette Colvin, she's a predecessor to Rosa Parks and gave up her seat. Coretta Scott King, we know that name. Adela Hunt Logan, education advocate and activist for the women's suffrage movement. Fannie Lou Hamer, powerful voice for civil rights movement. Lugenia Burns Hope, social reform advocate who created the Neighborhood Union. Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, civil rights activist and suffragist. She started the Women's Era. Daisy Bates, leader of NAACP in Arkansas. Dorothy Height, National Council of Negro Women for 40 years. Ella Baker, and more. But those are the ones that I, you know, when you said what you said about I had no idea that this was the month, I pulled that up and I thought that that was a worthy list, right?
I mean, beyond worthy. And I knew many of the names and some names I didn't know. So I'm in gratitude. I'm always in gratitude when I'm gaining new insights. And then I say, how do I incorporate this into my life type, you know? So this is beautiful.
Great. So when you did realize it was Black Women's History Month, how did that hit you? Like, how did it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting because I thought about, well, last year, my cousin, Nina Sinclair, she had me honored for Black History Month. And I was like, wow, that was huge for me, right? And the whole campaign went out. It was beautiful. And then when you brought me in, I said, wow, this is even deeper than I realized as I was reading about it and what it means. The fact that, first of all, you invited me in. There are many people who are doing African-American women, women of color, because this is about ethnic women, period, that are doing great works that people don't know about. And then I started thinking about high school and the women that helped me through high school. My Mrs. Lee, who was my fashion design teacher, who made me feel like I could do anything. And just the women that show up in our life along the way and we didn't even realize. Yes, as big as Rosa Parks, as big as Soul Journey, you know what I mean? As that, but yet in your everyday life, there are powerful women in your life that are guiding you and you don't even realize it. So that was how it hit me. Like, wow, what about the women in my everyday life?
Beautiful. I had a reaction and I was grateful very much too to be honored as a Women's History Month highlight with Fox News, Fox News in DC, which was pretty amazing. Terry Tolliver, Emmy Award-winning producer, and she's getting permission from Fox to come on my show now. But I'll tell you, there's this double-edged sword, and I wanted your take on this.
Mm-hmm.
When people say to me, I remember, growing up or when I was modeling, and they would say, you're a beautiful Asian woman, beautiful. And I thought, thank you. And why can't I just be a beautiful woman? Why do we have to distinguish that color or race or difference? So I'm only beautiful in that category. And it's a horrible egotistic reaction to have. But I think underlying that, the unique nature of being a colorful woman. So you are a woman of color. It's kind of like tokenism, where we want more representation in the workforce. So did I get promoted because I'm really good, or did I get promoted because I fit that person of color category? Does that?
Well, it's so interesting that you brought that up, because I've never asked the question, did I fit in because of a category? So that question has never come to me. I have noticed in situations that I'm the only one. So that's my own noticing. But my work is so excellent that it doesn't matter that I'm the only one, because I know my work is what brought me to whatever the circumstances are. For instance, being the spiritual director of Safe Harbor Treatment Center for Women, I was seen as someone who could do that work, that I was the first and only spiritual director they ever had. So it was like, oh, they know I'm here to do this work. And I've been there 12 years. So as I look at it, I don't really see any. If someone notices the color of my skin, I don't have a problem with it. And if they notice my work, I don't have a problem with it. What I want to know is, I have to know within myself that I'm worthy of all of it. I'm worthy. I'm honored to be of color. I'm honored to do my work in the world. I'm honored to be alive, and I'm honored to serve everybody, no matter what their background, no matter what their race, no matter what their culture. I can serve every and anyone. That's me. That's my decision as a teenager, to make sure that I was a bridge. I remember saying that to myself. I want to be a bridge. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's where I think from. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it does, but it's completely not my experience, because I grew up in a really small German town in Canada, and so being different was not good. So Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these, you're yellow, you have jaundice, you are funny looking. And I was ashamed of being Chinese. I always wanted just to look normal, like the girl next door. So being different and being identified as different was not a good thing for me. So it took me a lot, that journey of loving myself and the strength of who I am that came to you earlier didn't come to me until later. I mean, I used to lie about my heritage because being Hawaiian was cool. So if someone said, "Are you Hawaiian?" I would actually say yes, or lie and just not say, "No, I'm Chinese." And it's taken a long time, but I am now super grateful. I love my Chinese roots, and I wouldn't trade it. But that kind of awareness that you're talking about, I didn't have.
Well, let me say this, Dr. Marissa, I grew into that awareness. So I'm speaking from what I know now. I'll just make it quick. Coming to America, having an accent, people of my own color telling me that I wasn't Black because I had an accent, standing in the mirror trying to lose my accent, practicing how to speak without an accent. Okay, so I had an accent, and being told my skin was too dark, my hair is too nappy. I mean, I went through all of that, not mostly from my people, mostly from African Americans. Mm-hmm. So I hear you. And yes, when you walk into the room, you see this. Absolutely. Yet I'm speaking from a place of healed, but I understand where you're speaking from. It's basically the same experience to some degree. So I understand exactly what you're saying. I grew into with spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, contemplation. I grew into this, yet there was always something in me, spiritually speaking, that knew my oneness, that I was one with everybody. I already had that as my core.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I grew from that as well, because I remember the question in my mind was, it was about people who were gay. And I was like, oh, I was in my teens. And I remember saying to myself, oh, souls are meeting. It doesn't matter what sex they are. It's a soul meeting a soul. Or I remember thinking about, I had one uncle who died from alcoholism. I remember saying, oh, he's just trying to contact God. Like he's going to this drink, but he really wants to know God or a higher power. I had those insights as a young person. And then as I really moved into oneness with God, that's what allowed me to accept my dark skin, my nappy hair, my big nose, my big lips. Yeah. And then what I did was I pierced my nose, I glossed my lips, I lock my hair, can't get any nappier than this. I was like, oh, you don't like that about me? I'm going to live in it.
Right. And that sense of self-love and self-care and owning one's power is certainly the work that you do. And I honor you for that. And I love the way that you work with the teens and in the at Agape, and I know they love you very much. So Dee has a comment here that I wanted just to reflect on as well. Your work should be what people look at past color. Now I'm going to go to the other end and put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of elephant in the room. Because like you said, Reverend Arlene, we can't change this. And psychological studies show that the first three things that people notice right away when they meet you are race, age, gender. You cannot not notice those three things. And so to balance out the, yes, we should, color shouldn't matter. At the same time, color does matter. And that if we can honor color and not judge it as less than, I think that's the ticket with valuing diversity. When I first started teaching that topic and forming workshops in that, I was one of the first. I was honored for that in LA County for the County of Los Angeles. And some person in class would say, why can't I say that black man? Why can't I point it out? It's something I noticed, and that's what. And I said, if we're just saying that black man, and black is just the color of his skin, without all of the perceptions and the judgment that comes with saying black, then yes, let's say that black man. Until we get to that point, because right now, if you say black male, and in the news until 1974, they were saying black man, female, Hispanic, and then white. They never said white. They would just say male or female. So the disparity and the way that the media has contributed to that discrimination and prejudice, just even in the labels, is really interesting. So they stopped doing that in 74. So now they'll say white male, white female. They're going to say black. So anyways, that was that I think it is important for us to identify that I am Chinese, but I'm also a woman, and I'm also an American, and I'm a proud American. And I'm also, until we can get to this place where all our differences are not less than, but they are just differences. And
our differences are our assets. I mean, our differences are, and of course, as you know, I work at a treatment center. So the work is in AA, they talk about similarities, to notice the differences and have them have no opinion, and also focus on the similarities. What's so common, just like, and I didn't consciously do this, but I said to you, do you know that in Jamaica, Chinese is a very big part of our culture. That was a similarity. That was something I was focused on, not anything other than that. So I believe that's a teaching. That's a part of, I truly believe in oneness. I truly believe that we were created by the same source, the same presence, the same power that expresses itself in ways that we can't even, from how many 8 billion human beings on the planet to planetary systems to all of this. I believe in that. I know that is truth. If we can be 99.9% the same physically, what are we spiritually? And as we start meeting one another heart to heart, I believe that's what makes the full difference. And we honor those within our realm that and beyond our realm that are living this thing called life to their best ability. So yeah.
Well said. Well said. And we missed our break, so we're going to go to break because I knew we would. But that's fine. I just told Polly we're not going to take 2 breaks. We'll just take 1 more break.
Okay.
So keep it tuned here. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, with my special guest today honoring Black Women's History Month, Rev Arlene Hilton. We'll be right back and find out what she's doing in the world now here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Well, she has been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and she just wants all of us to be happy.
Dr. Marissa, aka the Asian Oprah, says the most important thing you can choose is choosing to be happy.
You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa.
That's the idea for Dr. Marissa Pay's new book called 8 Ways to Be Happy.
Many of us say, I am my own worst critic. Nobody's harder on me than I am. And my response to that is, stop it! Why are you doing that to yourself? You have to be your biggest fan, because if you can't at the end of the day say, I did a good job, who is? We don't have to constantly be angry at the things that are wrong. Why don't we choose to be happy about things that are right? We have the choice. That's our muscle. And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Want delicious Vietnamese Asian fusion cuisine that is so good for your health you won't believe your taste buds? Olac is a 100% plant-based vegan restaurant founded by Mai on living foods and a love for animals that won't make you sacrifice taste for health. 2 locations to delight you, downtown LA and Fountain Valley. So go to www.olac.com, AULAC, to book your reservation today. Saving the planet has never tasted so good.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, TuneIn, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, and more. Why so many places? Because I want the maximum splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So that's why I do what I do. And for those of you who are wondering why I say 88% happy and not 100%, because if you're 100% happy, you're dead. I don't want dead people walking or talking. I want most of the time. And as you know, 8 is a lucky number. It's a homophone. In Chinese, it means good fortune. So 88 is double good fortune, your birthright to happiness. And today we are celebrating Black Women's History Month with Rev Arlene Hilton here in the house. If you have any questions for her, please put it in the comment section and we will try to get to it before time runs out. But welcome back, Rev Arlene. And what are you doing in the world for your contribution? I know it's not one thing you're doing, the gazillion things that you're doing. Okay. We have that definitely in common.
Well, it's very interesting. I have a private practice, and I recently, a young woman, she's 12 years old, is one of my clients now. Her mother went through the teen room, so I'm counseling her, and her mother's mother just recently became a client of mine. So I'm literally counseling 3 generations, which is like blowing my mind to know that I've been doing this work for so long that I can tap into 3 generations. It's just amazing. We're in the midst of I'm Keeping True, which is a program I created 14 years ago, Dr. Marissa, 14 years ago. And it came into existence because I was doing this program for my own life. And one day Reverend Michael saw me and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just doing my fast." He goes, "Well, what do you do?" And I listed off everything. Gratitude lists at night. In the morning, I set my intentions. I do spiritual readings. Next thing you know, he says, "You should do this. You should make it a workshop." In my mind, I said no, but in my face, I said yes. I was like, I can't add one more thing. And then 1 year later, I started the program. So 14 years ago, many people who are on the line right now are fasting with me. And it's a little bit of a different kind of fast. And then this year is the first time Ramadan overlapped Lent. So we're fasting during Ramadan. But now in the midst of this, I am actually expanding my program to start launching it throughout different parts of the year, through the fall, through the winter months, to have 30 days of deep, deep spiritual practice, spirit, mind, body. That is our holistic self. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I'm at home right now, away from the treatment center, healing. I had a little bit of a fall in November and I've been healing. And so new insights are coming every day. But there's one thing I'm doing different. I have chosen that I must release some things so that I can really spend time with me as well as serving humanity. That I have to take time to refuel and honor myself. And here I am.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So I vaguely remember that we prayed for you in the choir when you fell.
Yes.
Remind me what happened? Or you don't want to talk about it? You don't have to.
Well, it's just quick. I was walking. I mean, I've been there forever, same area. And, the stairs were wet. I was slowly walking, which is unusual, and just went flying into the air and went to the doctor that day. And I've been working ever since. And then all of a sudden there was a realization that driving 300 miles a week is not helping my knee heal. So the doctor took me off and said, you need to not drive for a while. And so I've been home healing, and I start physical therapy next week, which is interesting, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. You know what PT stands for, right?
No, I don't. What do you know?
When I got my hip replaced and you have to go to physical therapy and they're making me do things that hurt. And the woman beside me goes, PT stands for pain and torture.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to re-qualify that one.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's not fun. It's not fun. So let's go to Black History Month again. And how did you, I don't know if I want to bring up the hot topic of changing the curriculum. I know that is something that we're doing now to accurately capture the history of our country and looking at both the strife and the contributions from Black Americans and Black American women. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I have been hearing about a lot that's going on. I am not a news listener. I don't normally listen to the news, but the news gets to me anyway. And what I'm realizing is it is so hard if you have perpetrated pain on someone and if you have harmed and endangered people. It's very difficult for you to look at it. It's hard for you to admit, I have caused pain and suffering to generations of people. And what I love is a lot of people are waking up and they're saying, oh, I'm willing to look at this, admit it, so I can heal. Yet there are many who do not want to face it. My thing is that it's important and critical, no pun intended, that we teach these things in schools so we can learn, so we never repeat it again. If you walk through this world in ignorance and you don't know, not that we live in it and not that we're going to live from the pain, but we acknowledge it and say, hey, let me just say this. If someone has experienced trauma from someone, let's say a family member, and that family member never admits that they actually were a part of your trauma, that can really delay your healing. It doesn't stop the healing if you believe in a higher power, but it can delay it. But when people look at things and say, I did that, my ancestors did that, and I am not that, I want to live this life differently. I want to honor you, honor your ancestors, and I want to do it different. That's healing. So I believe it is important that we take a look at our history. What has happened? How did, we talk about Jamaica all the time and how, the enslaved were dropped off there. Not only were they dropped off there, they were didn't think they were going to survive there. And they did. They connected with the Awak Indians, which were the original people of Jamaica. And then the Chinese were dropped off there at some point. You get to see the whole history, and then you say, how do I move forward from there? But if you're going to walk around in denial, it's just like living your life in denial. No, that hole is not there. So you go ahead and you drop into the hole. The hole is there.
Right.
Let me look at the hole, cover it up, heal it so I can walk over it.
Absolutely. 100%. I remember the moment that, I think it was after I watched 13th on Netflix, the moment that I switched, because I was Canadian, I became American. And so the choice to become American, and, I was dating someone at the time who was from a blue blood family. And there was his mom didn't like me because I wasn't white. And just looking at the whole history of our, super rich family names, right? Those names that everybody says, oh, they're from that family or that family. And recognizing that they had that name and have the wealth that goes with that name off of the backs of slaves. All these decades and decades of wealth that has passed through began with, hauling people out of their home without permission, enslaving them and brutalizing them. That's
Absolutely.
how they made their wealth. And so how can we not talk about that? How can that not be in the history books of how this country was created, how the wealth came to be that? And so that I'll never forget that moment when I went, oh, I've got my awe in the wrong place. I've got my, wow, look at them or whatever in the total wrong place. And that's when valuing diversity became one of my, so important missions in life to do that.
Yeah. I feel that's very important. And it's something very interesting that you said. You said slaves, and then you said enslaved. And I remember that a number of years ago, Ricky was talking, and she said she no longer says slave, she says enslaved. And I learned in that moment that we're not slaves. We were enslaved people. And so I've been using that term because it really out pictures that's what really happened. But the spirit of who we are has always been free. We are free spirits in God, in our higher power, in Allah, in Yahweh, in Jehovah, whatever name we may use, that we're free spirit. So I'm really, you know what? I think what I'm doing at this point in my life is I'm fine tuning. I'm really looking at the details of what I know and what I need to know. Like I said, Dr. Marissa, you taught me today coming in here. I'm like, oh my goodness, look at what I need to remember. I never even thought about a month for those who are of African descent, women. And women of all cultures, because it does say it's for women of all ethnic cultures. And I said, wow, this is really powerful. How can I deepen and add that to my life work? I know I said I'm trying to get rid of stuff, but I know it can be graceful.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that vein or theme, I remember speaking at a conference, and I was one of the younger and on the panel, and there were some older women who the question came, how did you break through the glass ceiling? And an older, I think there's a lawyer and then a partner, and they both said, we had to walk like a man, talk like a man, dress like a man, be like a man. And the medical doctor, younger woman sitting beside me, kicked me under the table and rolled her eyeballs. And I understood what she was saying, but I also in that moment, and I want to spend a minute in the show to acknowledge the courage that it took all of those Black women that I listed at the beginning of the show, the courage that it takes to break what is and what is the powers that be at the time to not give up your seat or to not just go with the flow, or as our teacher, Big Brother Michael, will say, you know, not to walk lockstep, right? Or not to be mediocre. That it is because I am afforded the freedom as an Asian woman because of those before me who kind of helped pave that way. So the acknowledgement today, I think, is so important for all women of color who have risked, I can't even imagine the courage that it took to do what they did and to say, no, not on my watch. That's like not easy, you know, to do that. So I honor all of my teachers, as you did before, all the women of color who have come before us. Oprah, my honorable moniker. She was the first person that I give credit to for bringing the idea of our souls and our minds and our hearts into mainstream media. You know, spirituality. She brought that into mainstream media. So that's why I honor her. And I know you know this, but those who think that I call myself Asian Oprah, no. Michael Bernard Beckwith introduced me to Oprah as the Asian Oprah, and you could blame him. So anyways, but I know I'm sounding a little defensive, but who would you say helped break, you know, and help pave your way in becoming the powerhouse that you are?
Wow, powerhouse. Okay. I just want to say it's very interesting. I would say that it's numbers of people, because I remember when I worked at Marshall Field, Chicago, State Street. That store is gone now, but there was a woman there. Her name was Sharon, and I worked in cosmetics. And this woman, the store would be empty and her sales would be through the roof. And it was the men's department. We were at a men's Clinique counter, the first in the country. And I was working there, 19 years old. I go, how do you do this? Then she told me she was studying science of mind. And then I started studying, and then my world expanded. Then I learned about, I don't know if you're familiar with this person, Shakti Gawain. Shakti Gawain did spiritual writings and spiritual books. I started reading her book. Then I started studying. Then Johnny Coleman in Chicago, the Universal Foundation of Better Living. My former husband and I started taking classes there. But I'm looking at these women now. Johnny Coleman was the first African-American woman from Unity to open up her own community that seated 6,000 people. It was full every Sunday in Chicago. And I learned new thought through her teachings, studying Charles Fillmore, which I have, if you look at my top shelf, Charles Fillmore books up there. There's Reverend Michael up there.
Yay.
But, you know, this woman was like a powerhouse. And what's interesting, she was high fashion. If
Love
you
it.
of her, and I was a fashion design major in high school. I used to model when I was a little girl. I saw her and I was like, wow, she is something else. And the teachings that came through her. Then there was Ann Jefferson. And then as I got older, because I didn't grow up with my mother lived in Jamaica. I went to meet my mother, and my mother blew my mind. She was an entrepreneur. She was philanthropic. She was with Jamaican Girl and Boy Scouts of Jamaica. This phenomenal, powerful woman. So I say there's so many. And then I have girlfriends in my life that lift me up. But I do want to speak into one thing. When you talked about walking through the world as a man, I was doing that. I was trying to be so hard and so tough. And I realize now I don't need to be that. Just be the woman I am. And when I need to be aggressive, I can be that. And when I don't have to. I just speak from who I am. I remember I walked up to Marianne Williamson in one of her talk shows. She was speaking, and I walked up to her and I told her, I used to be like so hard and so like on point, and I used to fight for what I wanted. And I said, I don't know what happened to me. I'm not doing that anymore. And she said to me, she said, when you become enlightened, you don't need to fight. When you become enlightened, you don't need to fight, because fight is from fear. And now I speak from love. I speak from compassion. So I have so many influences that when I'm done with this show today, I'm going to sit down and write down all of my influences, just because you asked me that question. So I don't even think about, you just keep living your life, Dr. Marissa.
Right.
You just keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Before we run out of time, how do people find you?
Okay, let's see. I am Rev Arlene Cecilia Hilton, Hylton on Facebook. You can go to revarlene.com. You can also go to imkeepingtrue.com to find out about my program. And yeah, those are some great ways that you can get in touch with me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing and celebrating with me Black Women's History Month. Yes. I hope you go and think about all the things that we've talked about, and remember this thing. I do it at the end of the show. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from her living room, wishing you to go forth and multiply the beautiful woman that you are, and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow, or see you Monday.
Happy